Hi everyone. I wanted to talk about an important topic that is often considered taboo, mainly because, it's not deeply researched, and due to the egalitarian beliefs that are prevalent in big science, uh, it's unlikely to be a topic to be discussed until further barriers come down to research. And that topic is IQ. Why am I talking about IQ? Some people think that IQ is just a claim that European chauvinists make. And of course not. It's not true. IQ follows a normal distribution. You take everyone on a line, you calculate their ability, raw processing ability, or their certain traits that correlate with intelligence, and you score them across four different vectors. Essentially, IQ is a good way to tell how good at someone is with pattern matching. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because, there's this claim out there, which I'm going to investigate further in this video, that black people have a lower IQ than white people. They say that the average black person has an IQ of 70, which I'm going to go into why that sounds patently ridiculous. But there's multiple claims about IQ. IQ is useful, but I think the main issues is that either the weights are wrong or it's not measuring what it's supposed to measure. It's not measuring actual raw processing ability, but measuring certain standards of like living in an urbanized Western society. And that shouldn't be a measure of intelligence. A measure of intelligence should be mere pattern matching and correlating with adapting to your environment, which most humans are very good at. So let's investigate this further. So first, the claim that the average African or black person has an IQ of 70. Okay. This idea that the median IQ of a black person or the average IQ of the black person is 70 is patently ridiculous. The only reason why I'm saying this is because let's say you have a white person with an IQ below 70. That person would be clinically retarded, specifically, and they would be unable to function in society. They would have problems taking care of themselves. They would have problems. They would need diapers. They would need all these issues that essentially they would be very heavily developmentally disabled. You get the same average black person with an IQ of 70, and he's relatively functional. He can wipe, he can eat, he can participate in his society. Maybe he might be dimmer than the average white person, but at the same time, if his IQ is really 70 or below, it would make no sense that he's functional in society. So the weights are wrong. Either the weights are wrong, or it's not measuring what it's supposed to measure, or maybe you could make the claim that a black person with the same IQ as a white person is more capable than the same white person. That is ridiculous. So one of these things are wrong, if not all. Another thing is the Flynn effect. So you have this idea of the Flynn effect. The Flynn effect is the idea that IQs increase over time as access to nutrition, access to education, and more society advances to a more technological level. In the Chinese follow this example as well. So in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, their IQ ranged from 70 to 85, on average. And, with nutrition and better education and stuff, their IQs even surpassed white nations like America. So that just shows that either IQ is environmental or IQ isn't measuring intelligence because, IQ is supposed to measure raw innate ability, an ability to pattern match and do those essential skills. And if it's not doing that, it makes absolutely no sense. So if you have an IQs of, if your IQ goes from 70 to 100 in a few generations, it's not measuring. Another thing, in America and Europe, IQs have been going down over time, even as societies have been advancing for the past since 2000, since the early 2000s or before then. This makes no sense because essentially if IQ is measuring a raw innate ability, then it's showing human signs of dysgenics, which is yet to be proven, or it's showing signs that IQ isn't measuring raw innate ability. So IQ follows a normal distribution. In each population, and if you get a large sample size, IQ is normalized around 100. However, this changes up and down. And this shows that populations aren't dynamic in IQ, or raw innate ability is changing, or something is happening that isn't making sense. So IQ is a good measure of, generalizing intelligence, but it's a good measure for some things, but it's not accurate completely. And more research needs to be done into this regard. So unfortunately, because there's this idea, they call this the leftist control of academia. And I wouldn't say that. I would say that there's an egalitarian bias in academia. And essentially, since they think everyone's equal, they think there's no differences in intellect or capabilities between the races or different groups of people. No one's good at a certain thing and no one's bad at a certain thing. But at the same time, you have to understand, there are differences between groups. It's just that the differences within groups are much bigger than the differences between groups. And in addition to that, it's just not easy to measure. You can't. So people are assuming because an average IQ is like a certain amount that it means that certain races are innately less intelligent. You can't tell the average black person's intelligence based off of an IQ score of the average black person. Because black people, the differences on IQ is a normal distribution, and there's several people on both tail ends and certain people around the median. But at the same time, you have to understand, IQ is, how do you say it? It's not, there's problems with the measurement. And that's all I'm saying. It can be used for some things, and it's useless for other things. But we need to investigate the sources of IQ and find a better measurement that is more accurate, that is weighed accurately, that can be distilled to a few things that make sense. So I hope that makes sense. Thank you.